everybody. Hey. Happy Friday. I am so glad that it's Friday. And I am so excited about what we have planned today for you guys. Listen, if this is popping across your screen, I need you to take a few moments to share this broadcast out before we even get started. So let me go ahead and make sure on my screen that we are live. Yep, we're live. I see us. So I need you guys to take a moment to share this to someone that you know. Share it to a current entrepreneur. Share it to someone who's an upcoming, an aspiring entrepreneur, a wannabe entrepreneur. It doesn't even matter. Just go ahead and take this moment to share this out. This is our first time going live in the CEO group with a guest, okay? And so we're excited about being able to bring some exciting things to the group, okay? So let me take a look, and I'm going to go ahead and share this as well to my page. Let's see here. Let me share. Okay, well, I've shared, and make sure you share. And guess what? If you've shared, go ahead and comment below and let us know that you have shared. Okay, we need this to matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and use that tag button today, that everyone tag button. I know sometimes everybody doesn't like it, but how else are we gonna get the word out? you know we have to be able to get the word out some type of way. So let me go ahead and see if I can do this on here on my, let me see, can I still do it? I don't know if I can do it from this screen. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and get started, because regardless of whether you are watching us live or you catch the replay, it's okay. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and tag a few people who I know were interested in this today. So let me tag her really quick. All right. So again, regardless of whether you are catching this live, the replay will also be available to watch as well. So don't worry about that. We got you covered. All right. So today we are so excited to bring on the platform a good friend that I have come to know just through being in this group. And when he joined the group, I was really excited about what he brought to the group and what he did. And so we entrusted him having free reign to do as he wanted to, as God led him in this group. We are excited that in this group, organically, we have grown to almost 1,100 members. So we just say thank you, God, for that. Yes. And so today I'm going to introduce you to Jeremy, and his company is called Purpose Beyond Profit. And it's growing brands that love people. And so I'm going to turn this over to him, and he's going to begin to just let us know what we're doing today. Go ahead, Jeremy, take it away.
Thank you, Amber. I just want to say for all of you watching inside the group, what an incredible leader we have in Amber. And you just heard her share the story of her just opening up the group to people who want to help other people. And so her coming to me and saying, hey, you have free reign and you have the opportunity to speak to this group just shows your level of generosity, and it shows your level of commitment to making this group a place of service. And so I just want to commend you in that and thank you for opening it up. Really appreciate that. I'm really stoked for this. I've been looking forward to this all week since Amber and I planned this, because this group, the CEO group, is full of entrepreneurs who have a passion to use business for good, who have a passion to love and serve people through business, who have a passion to glorify God in the businesses that we build. And so I have the same passion, but I didn't always have that passion. When I first started my business in 2018, I ran a marketing agency that slowly drifted into what everybody else said a business should be about. It should be about profit first, and it should be about building up funds to retire and fund future kids' education and passive income and work from home and all these personal wish list things that we can get easily sidetracked by our own selfish ambition. My business drifted into that, Amber, and we talked a little bit about that story and how, because I wasn't super clear on what I was doing and what my purpose was, I drifted, even though I'd reached this point where I was financially successful and hit every financial metric that I had wanted to hit. I realized through bad experience that
Yes.
money doesn't satisfy human souls.
No.
It just doesn't. And but it's an incredible ingredient. Profit is an incredible ingredient,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a powerful tool to grow a business that is on mission to love people. And so, how do we use profit as a tool to love people, and not
Mm-hmm.
people as a tool to love money? Right?
Mm,
How do
that's
we
good.
put that upside down? Right? Because it is very countercultural. And so, over the last year, I've been working on this model that I'm going to share with you now. And it is the purpose beyond profit model, the 5-step model for building a profitable business that loves people. And we start here at the bottom. If you can see this, let me know. I want to make sure that it's popping up
Mm-hmm.
right.
I can see
I'm going
it.
to make it so that it's the biggest on the screen because it might get a little small here. But we're going to start at the bottom. Level 1 here is mission clarity. In order for us to grow a profitable business that loves people, we first have to be clear on what the mission is. What is the mission? What is the end goal of the business? Because in order for us to move forward, we have to know where forward is. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about first on this training. I'm really excited. We're going to go in depth. Amber and I brainstormed about different ways of doing this. I'm super excited with what we came up with. We're actually going to take Amber's brand, Love by Amber, through this model from A to Z, from beginning to end. So you guys don't just hear this philosophy and theories, but you're actually going to see live
Yes.
right now a brand go through this model and see the results that come from it. So level 1 is just you have to be clear on what the mission is, where are we going, who are we serving, and how. Level 2 is, okay, we have this internal clarity, but if all we have is internal clarity and we're not expressing it, it's pointless, it's meaningless, right? So how do we create redemptive content that leads people to our mission, that leads people from the problems they're currently experiencing that we can solve? How do we lead them from there in their pain to the solution? And how do we create content that bridges that gap? The third step is raving community. And so now we've expressed our mission, right? People are starting to rally around it. How do we host a place where people can come and be free to engage in the mission with us? Because the mission is so much bigger. And we'll talk about this with Amber's mission, especially, and any of us who have a mission, who have a purpose beyond profit. The mission is so much bigger than just us. Right? And so how do we allow the mission to be at the center, and how do we create a safe and welcoming environment for people to engage in that mission with us? And the next step is sustainable sales. How do we consistently and routinely make sales and put systems in place to consistently make sales from that community of people who believe in why we're doing what we're doing, not just what we're doing? I think it's the most powerful sales tool. And then the last step is leadership. So after we have grown this business and we're bringing in profit routinely and consistently, what does it look like to grow the brand? In order to operate as a CEO, at some point we have to bring other people into the mission, hire them to help us with the operations on a day-to-day basis. So what does that look like? That's the 5-step model. Amber, do you think I lost everybody in that overview?
I think that was pretty simple. I think that was pretty clear cut. So I think we're good.
Awesome. What I want the format of this to be, Amber, I talked about this, but Amber's going to slow me down and stop me when she has questions. So Amber, you have permission to interrupt me at any point. And I also love questions. If you're like, I didn't quite get that, I'm not sure what you're saying here, please feel free to drop questions as we go through this model. Don't be ashamed. Even if we can't cover on the live, I know Amber's not going to be able to send every question to me. I will personally go back and answer every single question that's dropped, whether you're watching the live or the replay, whether we cover it live or have to go back and answer it later. I'm totally fine with doing it. I'd be happy to do it. So
and I want to say too, also make sure you ask questions, because this type of content is like worth a lot of money. And so just the fact that he's here willing to answer questions and come on here, take advantage of it. It's a blessing. So all right. So make sure you ask some questions.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive right into level 1 using Love by Amber as an example. And Amber, while I'm pulling up this next screen, kind of just give a little summary of what Love by Amber is, what you sell, what you do, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, it's my company is called Love Amber. So Love by Amber.
I'm
Love
sorry.
Amber, still the same. It's okay. It's Love Amber Company. We were founded in 2015. Where fashion is 2015, where fashion is our love language, and we basically we are encouraging women to basically embrace who they are and boldly express themselves through that. And we use love, so it's so funny because you talk about love a lot. Well, we actually use love as a way to come together in the form of fashion and accessories to bring together a community. So
love it. Love it. So Amber, what I want to do is I want to start all at the top left of this super ugly Canva graphic I made for this live call so that I can fill in the blank. Literally, we're going to fill in the blanks here in this model with Love Amber. And I apologize, I was calling it Love by Amber the entire time.
it's okay.
You're in this blank of your mission statement. And what I heard you say is something along the lines of, we encourage women to embrace who they are and boldly express themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. That's good. And if you can, are you able to make that screen just a little bit bigger?
Yes.
I'm looking down at the screen now.
Is that good?
Let's see here. Well, it's a little small on my end on the laptop or the iPad.
All right, if this screen is too small for you guys to be seeing, comment below and let us know, and I can make
it's better now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we have your mission statement right here. I'm gonna make it a little smaller so it pops up a little better. All right, so a mission statement of encourage women to embrace who they are and boldly express themselves. And I think it's so important that we start with the mission, again, because everything that we do in our business, we want to make sure aligns with our mission statement. So that's why we start there. And I actually have a framework for creating a one-sentence mission statement, because a lot of times we talk to entrepreneurs, we ask them, hey, what do you do? If you notice, Amber is so succinct. She knows exactly who she's serving. She knows it's women, and she knows the desired result that she helps them provide. She helps them embrace who they are and boldly express themselves. But a lot of times I go to websites and there's an About Us page, and there's just 5 paragraphs there just trying to touch on what they do, because there's not really internal, crystal clear assent of their mission. And so we want to make sure we're really clear on our mission first, so then we can break our mission statement down into action steps. Because I believe every result that we create in our business comes from action. And so what we want to do next is take this big high level picture of what we do and break it down into, okay, what does this actually look like in a tangible way? How can we express our mission through action verbs, right? And so some of the action steps of what does it take? What is someone in that target audience of women, what did they have to do to embrace who they are and boldly express themselves? And Amber, you can kind of help me fill in these blanks.
Yes.
One of them might be to know your worth, right?
Yeah, know your worth is one of them. Just really understanding that, knowing who you are in order to embrace it. So
yeah, 100%. Another action step could be discover your unique style.
Yep.
Right? If someone is knowing their worth and discovering their unique style, that's going to contribute to them accomplishing that result of embracing who they are and boldly expressing themselves.
Because it's unique to them. It's not, you don't have to look, and we're sometimes we're so looking at social media, and we're looking in the magazines, and we're looking at all these people, but we have to find out what's unique to us, what makes us happy, you know, what allows us to express ourselves. So yeah,
love it. And the last thing that we came up just a few minutes ago was to wear things that are authentically you.
Yes, I believe that staying true to your own identity will help you to, embrace it as a whole, not feeling like you have to, live up to somebody else's standards or wear something that, how they say you can only wear white around Labor Day. Well, that's not always true. It's when I want to wear it, so just basically, like you said, wearing things that authentically express who you are as an individual. So
I love it. So just to summarize, what we've done so far is we've taken Amber's mission statement and we've broken it down into what must happen in order for her target audience to achieve that result in her mission statement. We just broke that down. And I believe, and one of my favorite frameworks that I teach is understanding, yes, results come from actions, but every action comes from belief. Everything that we do in our lives, every action that we take comes from an underlying belief. And so I think it's
Yes.
incredibly powerful as business owners if we don't just go out there and tell people to do stuff, but hand them and help them believe the things they need to believe to empower them to take that action. Okay?
Yes.
So, what does someone have to believe in order for them to take the action of knowing their worth? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, one of the things I thought through is if you believe that Jesus makes you worthy, that you have
Yes.
inherent worth,
Yes.
you necessarily will know your worth if you
That's good.
believe that, right?
Yes.
So you can
Mm-hmm.
see this clear linear line that we're moving people from is understanding that if we can impact people at a belief level, we're going to necessarily change their actions. And if we change their actions, we're necessarily going to change the results that they're getting. And that's
Yes.
what business is about. Okay. We want to be a beacon of hope and change to the people we serve. Okay. So this
Yes.
is kind of the deep work that we have to do to get there. And trust me, this is the hardest, most introspective, deep work of this entire model because it starts with the clarity piece, right? But as the model goes on, we're going to get into much more tactful and tangible. Okay, well, how do I grow the business? How do I tell people, right? We're getting there, but this is the deep work. So let's write down Jesus makes you worthy. Another one could be like you have inherent worth, right?
Yes.
Let's attach core belief number 2 to action step number 2. So action step number 2 is discover your unique style. What would be a core belief that if someone believed this, they would discover their unique style?
If they, I believe too, if someone believes that God loves them in the beauty that they are, you know what I'm saying? That it's not a one size fit all. I have to believe
Mm,
that, that if I like to change my hair color, that
yeah,
he's not judging me. He's not, it's not a one size. We all have to fit into a certain look, but really saying, okay, I believe that God truly allows me to express myself because this is how he made me. He wouldn't put it in me to want to wear blonde hair if he didn't
yeah,
allow, you know what I'm saying? So that's
yeah.
what I think.
It's this idea of God made you unique, but He also loves you in your unique self.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you believe that, again, we would just to test this belief. If you believe that God made you unique and that He loves you uniquely, you're going to discover who you are, right? And that's kind
Yeah.
of the first step to being able to express yourself is
Yes.
understanding who you are, right? So
Yes.
let's do one more, and these are just some examples here. I think Amber and I we could sit down for, and this takes a while. So sometimes we could sit down for an hour or two and just get maybe 6 action steps, 5 action steps. But I just want to give you guys a taste of what this model,
Yes.
what it looks like to break down your mission statement. So let's say where things that are you, that's the action step. What would be a
Yeah.
core belief? One of the things that I thought of, Amber, and you can totally correct me if I'm wrong, is if someone believes that fashion is a canvas for self-expression, they
Mm.
would start to wear things that are uniquely them, that are
I'm
things.
gonna use that. I'm gonna keep that. That's something that I'm pinning because I believe that that's absolutely correct. Absolutely. Can you repeat that one more time? Oh, you're writing it
Yeah, just
down.
write it down. Fashion is a canvas for self-expression.
Yes.
If someone believes that fashion is a canvas for self-expression, and they
Yes.
believes that God made them unique and loves them uniquely, and that Jesus makes you worthy, if someone believes those core beliefs, then they would necessarily take the action steps of knowing their worth, discovering the unique style, and wearing things that are you, right? And if
Yes.
they took those action steps, they would necessarily get the result of embracing who they are and boldly expressing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Does everyone kind of
Mm-hmm.
see what we've done so far?
That's good.
That's awesome. So just to give you one more quick side perspective, my mission statement is to grow profitable brands that love people. I break that down to action steps of loving people, leveraging sales stories, telling your story, leading. And so those are some of the action steps, and I have core beliefs
Mm-hmm.
that are attached to that. So I have clarity on, again, what my core beliefs are as a brand, and that's going
Mm-hmm.
to change everything that we do, from the content we create, the community
That's
we
good.
build,
Yep.
the sales we make, how we handle objections, how we hire our team members. This right here, this deep work is going to change everything that you do in your business.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's jump down into understanding that where your target audience is right now, Amber.
Yes.
they are currently not embracing who they are and not
Yes.
really expressing themselves, because at a foundational level, a business is helping people overcome problems to the solution. So in your business, and for those of you watching right now, for the
Yes.
result that you want to help provide people, understand that your target audience isn't there yet. And that's why you're creating this business, is you're helping people overcome problems. So let's get clear on what those problems are so we can reach them where they're at. Does that make sense?
It does. And one of the things that I have pinned down for one of the problems is many women have forever been so occupied with taking care of everyone else. And we also acknowledge that as we go through phases, as we get older, we don't often feel as beautiful and often compare ourselves to other people that we see because we haven't taken the time to really self-care and in self-care express ourselves through our fashion. So that's definitely one of the reasons, one of the problems that I've identified.
Yeah. I love that. So I just added that real quick. The action step of taking care of myself. That's
Yes.
a really important piece. And I threw this core belief, and again, you can correct this if you think if there's something better you can think of. But the idea of I am worth my time. If someone believes that, they're going to take care of themselves. They're going to take the time to take care of themselves.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, so let's move now into where our target audience currently is. If maybe has any questions about action steps, core beliefs, mission statement, go ahead and drop that. Amber, do you see anything yet?
I'm looking. I don't see any questions. I just want to say thank you, Rosette, for tuning in. She's definitely present, and so no questions so far.
Awesome. All right, so limiting action. So I want someone to type in the chat right now beliefs, and then do like an arrow, actions, and then do another arrow, result. Because this is the exact same framework that we're going to follow through with now your target audience in mind. Because we understand that instead of good results, the good result of embracing who they are and boldly expressing themselves, they're actually experiencing a bad result, right?
Yeah.
And the bad result is maybe they're not embracing who they are, and maybe they're not expressing themselves, right? And so what are the actions that they're doing that are wrong? Okay, what is the wrong actions? Instead of knowing their worth, what is the limiting action that they're doing? So this would be the opposite right here. So we're kind of going through the same framework, but kind of in an opposite way, understanding instead of from the solution side, we're now looking at the problem side where our target audience is. So what's the opposite, or what is something that our target audience struggles with instead of knowing their worth?
Yeah.
Let's say something. So let's say, we could just do the exact opposite. They don't know their worth.
They're believing the lie. They're believing the lie of the enemy. You know, because we're talking about Christian, Christian beliefs. They're believing with the lie of the enemy and what he says to them about themselves, and not God's truth.
Yeah, and so there you see the corresponding false belief there of what a lot of time what contributes to the problem for women who aren't embracing themselves and don't boldly express themselves is there's this underlying false belief that I am not worthy, right? Who am I to express myself, right? I kind of have to hide who I am because I haven't fully accepted it yet, right? So we see the underlying false belief. Another one here with the limiting action number 2, instead of discovering their unique style, maybe what would be the opposite here? What would be a limiting action someone would take instead of discovering their unique style? Maybe they're just not self-aware. Maybe it's just maybe it's an inaction. Maybe it's instead of discovering their unique style, they are unaware that they even have style, or think that they don't have style.
Yeah, or they're modeling what they've seen before them, their mom or their grandma, and feeling like they have to be like them, and not, that's one of the things that I kind of struggle with and dealt with, feeling like, when I first came into being saved, I had to look the part. I had to look apart.
I love that. I love that. I love that you're coming with ideas that are way better because you understand, you already have a clarity on your brand, which is really, really cool. Modeling what they see. And what's the underlying false belief behind that? would it be I have to do I have to do what's expected of me,
There you go.
right? And so you can kind of see how we're getting really intimately knowing our audience, and that's really going to help us with the stories we tell. And you're going to see how all of this is going to tie in because it's very sequential from step by step. We're going to drag and drop these false beliefs into the next framework we're about to jump into. But I have to do what's expected. Cool. And for those of you watching, and you're thinking through your own business, think through where your audience currently is. Think about the problems they're currently experiencing. What are they doing instead of the right actions? What are they doing that are the wrong actions? Instead of believing truth, what are some of the false beliefs that are holding them back, right? Once you have clarity on that, and I think that's enough just to give you guys an example of how this model works. I don't want to spend too much time here because we do have a lot more to cover. That's just a brief summary of step one, mission clarity. And so what I want to do now is jump into step two, redemptive content. And so the really, really cool thing about this framework is you're going to see how everything is sequential, chronological, leads from one step to another. So when we talk about, okay, we have internal clarity on who we serve and how and where our audience is, and there's this level of clarity. Now, how do we express this mission to our target audience? And there's two ways. The first way is through valuable resources. We provide how-to guides for someone who's ready to take an action step, to jump into, to run in the direction of the result we can help them provide. For the people who are ready, we can create valuable resources that hold their hand and help them do it. That's number one. That's the number two. The second type of redemptive content is storytelling. I think stories are the most powerful thing you can do in your brand. I was so scared to tell my story when I first, when the Holy Spirit was convicting me of running a business that was all about profit. And I shut that business down. When I came out of that, I was so scared of telling people, look, like this has been a facade for me. Like I felt out of alignment. It wasn't real. Like I was coming from a place of selfish ambition and not actual genuine love. And I didn't want to share that. I was scared of sharing that. I was afraid of people ignoring, laughing, mocking, not, and like discrediting me. Right. And what happened instead when I shared my story is I found other entrepreneurs who were in the same place as me and saw me as a beacon of hope in their life of yes, change is possible. You don't have to stay where you are. And there's a result for you that is so much different than where you're currently at if you're willing to just take a leap of faith, right? Stories are how humans interpret the world. It's how I believe it's the biggest action changer that can happen for a person. So my favorite storytelling framework, this is one that I built out, but there's a lot of them like it, is when you tell stories, you start with the problem that your audience is experiencing. And we just identified that. We just identified that in mission clarity. We just identified the false beliefs and the limiting actions, excuse me, that your audience currently has. And I think it's so powerful because most of the entrepreneurs I work with are entrepreneurs who started a business, who want to serve people who are experiencing problems that they had experienced at one point in their life. And that's what I call redemptive content, because you have an ability to speak to your audience from a place of vulnerability and knowing where they are and feeling where they are because you've been there. You know what it's like. So when you can start your stories with meeting people where they're at in their problem, in their pain, so powerful. Talk about a moment of when you experience that pain. Amber, is there, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, basically this entire framework, but you're doing fantastic. So I'm going to keep going, if you don't mind. Has there ever been a time in your life, Amber, where you felt like you weren't worthy, or you had to do what was expected, or you were modeling what you saw other people doing, or you didn't know I mean, I'm sure there's several moments in my own life, and I'm not even your target audience. So can you think of a specific moment though?
I can't think of a specific. Well, I have several. I mean, I have
Mm,
plenty of stories to tell. But one thing that sticks out to in my mind was when I came over. I came, I got saved at age 20, and so I had lived a life, up until then. So when I first got saved, it was like I was just trying to do everything right, cross all of my T's,
mm,
dot all my I's, look the part. I questioned, and it was like I never really kind of questioned my identity until I did get saved. That was one of the weapons of
wow.
the enemy that was trying to, play in my mind, because I love certain things. I loved fashion. I loved nails. I loved hair, and I felt myself feeling like, and not necessarily things that people said, because it's normally the enemy, like I had to look a certain way. And so I remember one time specifically, I was called to go somewhere and preach, and I came out of the room with this outfit on, and my husband looked at me and he was like, why are you wearing that? And I was like, well,
Mm,
because this is the type of church, and blah blah blah. And he's like, go change. He was like, go be who you are. And so I remember that. And so
wow.
it took several years for me to really begin to embrace my identity as a woman of God, understanding that what I wear, of course, modesty is always the forefront, but I'm able to still express myself in what I wear, and still be anointed to prophesy, still be anointed
Mm,
to pray for people, and just to be a woman of God, to be his child. So he's not. And so I had to really. It was a pivotal moment in my life where I started to express myself a little bit more, just to be who I was and not what people expected me to be. And it
love
was a phenomenal service too, as well. So
that. That's awesome. Praise
yeah.
God. Praise God. I think, Amber, when you say things like, I felt like I had to do what was expected of me, that's a really, really powerful thing to say to your audience, because when you say that, it's going to
Hmm.
resonate with them because they
Hmm.
know what that feels like.
Yes.
That's going to capture their attention. It's going to make them resonate and have
Yeah.
empathy with, and you're really empathizing with them, right? And I love what Amber did right after she mentioned the problem. She naturally just went right into the solution. And she's like, and this is what happened. My husband said something and it changed things for me. And I really started to understand that I could still be myself and take
Mhm.
on this role, right?
Yes.
So sharing the solution, that's when you're sharing the hope of, okay, I was doing the wrong thing. Oh my goodness, I keep on dragging this with me. I was doing the wrong thing. I was hiding who I was. I was modeling what
Mhm.
I was seeing. But
Mhm.
then, but then I started to just wear things that was me, that was
Yes.
myself. And I saw as a canvas that I can still be myself and express myself in any role, right? I don't have to change for other people.
Yes.
Right? And so she's talking about the solution. And that's the next step of the story, is sharing the solution. I am having major issues with this ugly cancer graph. Okay.
It's okay.
That's the next step, is the solution. And then the next step after that in your story is sharing the outcome. What is it like? And Amber touched on this too. What is it like to experience that solution? What does it look like in your life, in your business, and whatever you do? How does it feel to be in a place where you can embrace who you are and express yourself? Amber, just talk a little bit about that, like just a couple
Well,
sentences of how you feel as a person now and the ways that you've grown and doing these action steps yourself. How does it feel to be a woman that embraces yourself and expresses yourself?
it feels like freedom. It feels like freedom.
Mm,
It feels great. Um, it just took me into a whole nother world of really even loving who I am in God, loving God more, understanding that I was not under a magnifying glass from
mm,
Him, where it was like being punished for certain ways, certain things that I did, as far as how I look. And so for me, it was like, being able to also feel like to be a model for my children, for my
mm.
girls, to say, listen, I'm not
Wow.
putting pressure on you. I let them express themselves. So to me, it wasn't just something that stopped with me. It was a generational
Wow.
attachment to begin to break through generations, to be able to have a roadmap for my girls to say, listen, you can be be who you are, and they're still going to call you back to preach. They're going to still
Mm,
love you. They're going to, because you, and it helps me to, and it flows out in every area of my life when I began to realize who I was, and I began to be who I was, it flowed out in all of the areas of my life. So
Mm.
that was a great thing in areas as far as being a mom, being a pastor, being a mentor. I had to be able to break through that to be able to embrace my purpose in God.
Guys, this I call this the redemptive storytelling framework, and Amber just modeled it perfectly for you guys. I hope if you're watching and you just heard what Amber said, um, I'm not a woman. I'm not Amber's target audience in this business. That spoke to me, and like I can't imagine how much
Right.
that speaks to someone who is currently
Going through the
just
same thing.
wrestling and dealing with the pain of feeling not worthy and feeling like I could do what's expected and in this like this state of their limiting actions and false beliefs. I just can't imagine. Amber, these are the stories you need to be telling in your business if you aren't already. That's what's going to create a level of impact and resonation with your audience.
Okay.
100%. Let's jump into the valuable resources part, because the last step of the storytelling is a call to action, right? It's saying, and I think stories shift beliefs inside of people. That's just how we're wired. The call to action is saying, okay, here's what you can believe now, but now that you believe that, here's what you can do. So call to action is just a tangible, do you want to be a part of this? Here's what you can do. Here's a simple thing. Here's a next step for you in your journey. And there's hundreds of examples of call to actions. And I think a lot of marketers like myself get this wrong in making every call to action a plea to just purchase your paid program.
Right.
And I think there's so many more valuable resources, including your paid program, but that's not necessarily always the next step for your target audience. And so the entire sales process for us as mission-centered entrepreneurs is just identifying what's the next step for my target audience. What's a call to action that makes sense, that connects with the story, right? And so maybe she talked a lot about finally accepting who she was. And so what does it look like to create valuable resources that are going to be how-to guides for your audience? Well, it means aligning your valuable resources with your action steps, okay? And so some examples of valuable resources would be like an assessment. So I have a 25-question assessment. It's basically how aligned is your business for profit and purpose, right? And so my audience, they can take that assessment. If they're a mission-centered entrepreneur, it shows them exactly, it grades them on 5 different areas: mission, clarity, redemptive content, rating community, sustainable sales, and leadership. It grades them in all 5 areas and gives them a tangible result, a tangible metric that they can have to know where the biggest bottleneck is in their business. But by the way, if you want to take that assessment, just do a hashtag assessment, whether you're watching live or replay. I'd be happy to send you that assessment to take. It's totally free. Okay, so, but you align your action steps with your valuable resources. So let's say your action step of know your worth. What's a valuable resource that we could create for the target audience of women who they need to take that step? Maybe they believe now that Jesus makes you worthy, but like they're like, okay, but I want to take the action. Like, how do I cement this in my brain? Maybe a valuable resource we could create, Amber, would be something like 12 things that Jesus says about your worth. And maybe for the women who's struggling with that belief, maybe that's a valuable resource that could just speak affirmation over that and help them take a hold of that truth and really, cement it into their lives. What do you think about something like that, Amber?
I think that's great. And one of the things I feel like the Holy Spirit just dropped in my spirit for me to do as far as an actionable step today is to create affirmation cards to include when I send out to my customers, because I really think it's important that you have to first repeat it. And like you said, have those, like, I think that guide will be great to repeat it, to keep saying it till you believe it, till you get it in your spirit, even when you don't believe it, because there are going to be days where you don't believe it yet. So you have to keep on repeating those things. So I think that's great. I think that's
100%.
great to do.
I love it. So you see how we're aligning our action steps with our valuable resources. We're just creating valuable resources that are going to help people take action. More example would be like a PDF guide, a video training. She just mentioned affirmation cards. That's a new one. There's tons. These are just examples, right? video trainings, presentations, webinars, free trials, free consultation. There's a lot of different things that you can do that can help your target audience take the next step. You know, I think another cool one, Amber, could be like to help people discover their unique style. If you had some kind of like assessment or something, and I know with every personality test, every assessment, it kind of like sometimes can put people in a box, right? Because you have to create a limited number of results in your assessment. But it might be helpful just to kind of push people in the right direction, just to even want to take, even taking an assessment could be healing for someone that they're wanting to become more self-aware. So it's like creating some kind of self-awareness assessment or quiz or something like that. That could be something that would be helpful for your audience. All right. So let's jump in.
Another thing too, I'm getting downloads right now, is curating an experience for them. Because I know for me, one of the things that I actually like to do is one-on-ones. Mm-hmm. And I know people say, well, you shouldn't do that because it takes so long and you should do, but I actually like that. So that way you can have an intimate setting, where they feel comfortable, and curate experience where we can actually talk through some of the things that they are, where they're at, and then be able to 100%. Go into where they want to be as far as 100%. Their looks and things like that. So
100%. And that leads perfectly right. The thing I love about this model, and this is maybe a little bit of a humble brag, is as I'm bringing people through this, almost every single time, I was just talking to a client yesterday about this, is almost every single time they just naturally lead right into the next step. There's something that happens in alignment in your business as you have mission clarity, where things just shift and you bring things into alignment in your business and everything makes sense. Like, this is a very logical, sequential approach, because what happens is when you're sharing these valuable resources with your audience, what necessarily happens is you start to build a community, and you have a community out there somewhere. Whether you're harnessing that or not, whether you're using it and stewarding or not, is up to you. But you do have, when you're sharing content like this, to talk about like the stories that Amber can share and just share with us. There's a way for us to host a place for people who are struggling in that pain, who want to see more content like that inside of a Raven community. And so we use 2 relationship building systems in this model. And the first one is a CRM. And it's a CRM, the one that I use is really powerful because you can build in your opt-in pages. So if you have like a PDF guide, you can build an opt-in page where someone has to give you their contact information in order to access the resource, right? And now you have permission to email and text and stay in contact with these people and make sure they don't fall through the cracks, right? You can build out automated text and email campaigns, because maybe when you're first starting your business, you only got 20, 50 people that you're keeping up with. But as your business grows to 500, 5,000, 50,000 people who are in your sphere of influence, who want to hear from you and don't want to fall through the cracks, there has to be automations and there has to be systemized ways for you to stay in contact with these people and make sure they're getting what they need, and just, again, leading them step by step closer to their desired result, right? And so creating text and email campaigns automatically, where someone, I have one where every time someone joins my Facebook group and they enter their email, they automatically get added to a text and email campaign that welcomes them into the Facebook group and actually offers them a one-on-one, just like Amber was talking about. And it shows them kind of the next steps in their journey of things that they can use, other valuable resources that are available to them that they can use, right? And of course, my program is one of those, right? But it's not the only one. My call to action is not my paid program every single time, right? And so it's just one of them, okay? And so for some of your audience, they're going to get to that point where they're ready, and the next step for them is going to be your product or service. And then it's totally time to make your offer and say, hey, this is the next step for you. And that's when you throw pricing and you can help them, and that's totally fine. And it's good, and it's not bad to make money, and it's not bad to make sales, because you're mission centered. It's continuing your mission. You can't grow a business. You can't sustain a business even that loves people if you're not making sales. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Yes. So and then in my CRM, there's also a calendar, and we'll talk a little bit about that, about hosting those one-on-ones. The second relationship building system. If anybody has any questions about the CRM, Drop your questions about the CRM. If you don't have a CRM and you're looking for one that can do these capabilities, that can seamlessly lead the integrations that the CRM has, it can seamlessly create these valuable resources, host these valuable resources, and create automatic triggers that every time someone goes through a valuable resource, the CRM picks up where they are in their journey, and it puts them on the right path in their text and email campaigns to help them continue on where they're at currently. So meet people where they're at in a systematic way, without you having to manually just when you're talking like 500 people, 5,000 people, you just can't manually keep up with where everybody is in their journey towards the result, right? The other one that I love is a Facebook group. And I'm sure Amber and I share the same passion. The thing I love about Facebook groups is it's three-way communication.
Yeah.
You can talk to your audience can talk to you, and the thing that I find so powerful is your audience can talk to each other.
Yes.
That's what makes your mission at the center instead of you. And so you're allowing people to have discussion and engagement, and you're really just facilitating that discussion and engagement around the mission, right? And so that's super, super powerful. I think every community in the world, even when we think about, Jesus's his time on earth, Jesus spent a third of his time in his teachings just sharing parables, just sharing stories. And he created, like, the church today that's existed for centuries is bound together by the common belief that Jesus is king. And I think every community in the world, although every other community outside of that supernatural community of the united body of Christ is it's so shallow in comparison. But when you think about every community, just as an example, every community is united by a common belief. And so your Facebook group is actually going to be united by the core beliefs we created in Mission Clarity, right? So we're going to actually create an environment in a place where these beliefs are lived out, where people feel safe and welcome to accept these beliefs and to talk about them and engage them and believe them. And that's what your community is going to be. It's going to be a place for people like that, right? And then you can use your Facebook group and optimize it to create a welcome sequence where you're inviting people in. You're starting to build relationships with people. I also have an automation as well that takes people, I mentioned earlier, it takes people when they fill out a membership question in the Facebook group, it automatically adds them to my CRM directly, and my CRM automatically adds them to a campaign to make sure that I'm following up with people. And that's the two relationship building systems in step 3, Raving Community. Any thoughts about that, Amber?
Yes, I have a question that I'm sure could be something that other people may be asking as well.
Sure.
Let's say, for instance, how you started your business completely over. Let's say you find an entrepreneur who doesn't necessarily feel led to start their business over, but they want to or start get rid of the business, but they want to continue on in the business that they have, but they want to get on the right track as far as beginning to growing a business that loves people. And so what would be your recommendation if they've already have like an established business, already have an established group? Do you say they need to get a new group, or start a new group over, or do you say that they can go ahead and just begin to implement these things in the group that they already have?
Yeah, that's a great question. The beautiful thing about alignment is you don't have to start from scratch. You can take what you already have and what God has already done in your business. I think of how God has been faithful, even in my unfaithfulness, even in the things that are out of alignment right now, that maybe you're using sleazy sales tactics, or maybe you have a Facebook group that you're just not really using that much. There's a way, and it's possible for you to shift those things into alignment. Maybe the stories that you're telling aren't connecting with your audience. Maybe when you create content, there's just crickets, right? There's a way for you to just shift what the stories that you tell and how you tell the stories, and following this framework. Maybe you've built valuable resources in the past that people just weren't able to get results with, or they didn't even care, they didn't even want it. Nobody filled in your opt-in page, right? There's a way to align your valuable resources to your mission. You can create valuable resource without starting completely over and just aligning it to your action steps, right? There's a way, even if you don't know what your mission statement is, and I'll be honest with you, most entrepreneurs, when I first meet them, they can't tell me one sentence mission statement. And it's so many times we keep their paid programs. We keep a lot of things that they're doing in their business, and that's totally okay because the clarity is going to shift everything into alignment, even the things that are already existing. I've worked with a ton of entrepreneurs who, most entrepreneurs I work with, we don't start from scratch. That's part of my story, but that doesn't mean that it has to be part of yours.
Yeah. Good. That's a great question. That was a great answer. I love that and to me, that's also just about the redemptive power of God, that, it's not necessarily things you've done wrong in your business, but you didn't have the right blueprint, and so I believe that, God, he does all things well. And so as we are, being led by God, he'll lead us to a place like how I feel like God led me to Jeremy, to really see and enlighten some things that were in the dark, not necessarily things that we're doing wrong, but things that I could do to better push my mission and to, and to be happy in what God has called me to do. So I just really encourage you to definitely take the assessment to be able to get, a better blueprint and picture of where you're going with what God has given you, with the vision that God has given you.
I love it. And I love what the distinction you made, that if you have a Facebook group that you're just not optimizing, that's not wrong, right? But there's potential and there's opportunity. And because you mentioned that, Amber, I actually have a Facebook group optimization checklist. And if anybody wants that, you can just let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to send that over.
Okay.
Yeah. There's so much more to this model. I had to
condense it
some work to make sure we could cover all of it in an hour. So I'm doing the best that I can. I just can't possibly cover every framework and everything that we do to bring things in alignment. But this is the big picture. This is the overview. So if you're seeing yourself and you're like, you can just look at these 4 things we've covered so far in Mission Clarity. And if that's an area that you're struggling, be honest with yourself. When you take the assessment, be honest and be objective as you can, because awareness is the first step to change. And so if you're already aware that one of these things is holding you back in your business, comment what that is, and I'd be happy to reach out and help you take the next step. Okay. I have a lot of valuable resources myself that I've built out that align with my action steps. Be happy to just send over to you. So wherever you are in your business, if you're already self-aware, feel free to drop questions or share, what's the next step for you. Any final thoughts before we move into step 4, sustainable sales, Amber?
Nope.
Cool. All right. So step 4, sustainable sales. This is what I call the missional funnel. And it's understanding that at the top of your funnel, the very first thing you have to do is get the attention of your target audience. If you don't have their attention, there's no way that you can help them, right? And so step 1 is get their targeted attention. We're going to talk a lot about that right here. Step 2 is then deliver value. And how do we deliver value? We deliver value through our CRM, which is our valuable resources, right? So the valuable resources we create, we deliver that to our target audience once we have their attention. Then the next step is we build a relationship with them. And Amber talked about this before. There are some people who, when they receive the value, they're like, oh man, I need to talk to you, right? And Amber said she loved going on one-on-one calls. I used to hate it, and now I love it as well. For people who are ready to take that next step, I love going on calls and building a real relationship with people. And that also leads a lot of times to a sale. For the people who are really eager and really ready, it leads to a sale into one of my paid programs. I have a group coaching program where I take entrepreneurs through this entire model. They have a workbook. We're working through it very individually, applying it to their business. And so it leads a lot of times to a natural sale. It's not sleazy. It's not weird. It's not uncomfortable. This is the next step for you, and I can help, right? Another way to build the relationships here at this level is inside the Facebook group. There's so many powerful ways to build Facebook groups, relationships inside of your Facebook group. A lot of it happens naturally, but there's also more intentional ways of doing that. And I mentioned that a little bit in the welcome sequence, but even the type of content you post in your Facebook group. Again, I can't go super in depth on how to do that, but I do have a checklist. One Facebook group checklist, just drop a hashtag Facebook group checklist, and I will reach out to you with that. It's totally free. The sale, a lot of times for people, at least in higher ticket programs, your or products or services, a lot of times you're gonna have to go one-on-one with people. If you're doing low ticket, a lot of times you can just send people directly to a funnel or a website and make sales that way, and you can skip the calendar step. It just depends on how much it costs your audience, and obviously that's subjective, right? Because $500 to one audience could be a drop in the bucket, whereas $500 to a different audience could be everything, right? And so it just depends on who your audience is and what they need to take that next step in the sale process. And then the last step is advocate. And I love this step because I think, and we're going to spend most of our time in sustainable sales, just a few minutes here, talking about, because I think the two biggest bottlenecks, at least the biggest bottleneck, is targeted attention. People say, okay, well, I can create valuable resources. That's no problem. I love building relationships with my customers. I want to make sales. I think that I'm pretty good at sales. I just need the attention of my target audience. And we've historically heard in the marketing industry of two ways of doing it. We've historically heard of paid ads, right? So you just kind of throw a couple $1,000s at Facebook, and it kind of gets more and more targeted, and you point people to a funnel and try to make sales that way. I didn't have the ability to do that when I first started my business. I didn't have thousands of dollars around to spend on ads. Just being honest. And then the second way is organic, and that's kind of like the two primary ways. There is one marketing channel that I have used that added 6 figures to my business last year that I think is the most underappreciated and underleveraged marketing channel in the world right now. And it boggles my mind why nobody is taking advantage of it. But it is so powerful. And it's what I call mission partners. And mission partners is the idea that you don't own your target audience. Your audience already exists in other places.
Oh, that's good.
Strategically where your audience is hanging out, and then going what's above that and saying who owns those places and spaces.
Yeah.
So for me, as someone who helps primarily Christian entrepreneurs, although you don't have to be a Christian, you just have to have a passion to love people. Even if you don't know who love is, I'd be happy to introduce you. The really cool thing is I know there's a ton of Christian entrepreneurs who there's no way I could get in front of them, but there are people who own places and spaces where Christian entrepreneurs hang out. And one of those places is the CEO group. So and I look at Amber as a mission partner to me. We have this mutually beneficial relationship because when you think about it, other mission partners, other businesses, other places, other spaces, they want the exact same thing as you. They want to serve their target audience, and they want to make money. And so there's two types of value propositions you can create when you're thinking through these partnerships that you can build. And the number one way is content-based, a content-based value proposition. So I was able to come to Amber and I was able to say, I can serve your audience. And I know that Amber wants to do that with this Facebook group. Very evident. She made it clear from the first statement she said on this call was like, she wants to be she wants this place to be a place of service, right? And I know that. And so I see Amber as a mission partner, and me coming to her and saying, I can provide value in your group. I can provide, I can serve your audience in a powerful way, right? And in exchange for that, I have now the attention of my target audience. For those of you who are watching, whether you're watching it live or the replay, this is a huge advantage. This is a huge benefit for me because I have your attention. I've been able to share some of my valuable resources. You've been able to resonate with some of the things that I've said. Maybe it was the story. Maybe it's this framework. It's just like, oh my gosh, now it makes sense. Now I know how to grow a business in alignment with my purpose. And I didn't see anything like this before. And maybe some of you might even reach out to me and want to work with me, or maybe be inside of my group, or whatever that looks like, whatever the next step for you looks like. Targeted attention is now taken care of from my end. And so I can go to I can be a podcast guest. I mean, you can you can write a guest blog post for someone else. You can show up and do an interview in a Facebook group or a master class. You can go to any kind of social media influencer, YouTuber, Instagram, whatever it is, whoever has the attention of your target audience, you can create a value proposition and say, hey, look, I can serve your audience and create through this content. Or you can create a money-based proposition and say, I can give you an affiliate or commission type partnership where you give them a percentage of every sale that comes from them, from their audience. That's another type of partnership you can create. And I'm telling you, last year in my business, we did over 6 figures just from mission partners. We didn't run ads, and I tried doing the organic thing, but it got really spammy for me, and so we stopped doing it. And mission partners, like I think it's just the most under-leveraged and
That's good.
marketing channel in the world.
And to me, Jeremy, that's kingdom. That's building the kingdom where we're not afraid to be able to be in front of each other's audiences because we know that we're aligned to do kingdom work.
Yes.
And so that's why, it was important for us in this group. I can't do everything, all the time. I'm running different, multiple businesses, pastoring, family. So it's great when you can find someone. So believe it or not, somebody's out there looking for you. You are the answer to somebody's problem.
Yeah.
So
100%. And it comes from the awareness that the mission is bigger than just one person.
Yes.
And when you see it that way, you don't own your audience. You aren't the only person who wants to see the result happen. Your audience wants to see that. There's other businesses who want to see that. I think the key is finding people who are serving your audience but have different strengths, right?
Yes.
And that's the key. My most mutually beneficial relationships have come when you partner with someone who serves the same audience but has different strengths.
Yes.
Those are partnerships that are, I mean, it's blown me away, the results that have come from that. So
and I want to say this too. I want to say this too to those that are watching, and do it quickly, as far as getting other people involved, because I didn't even know it was year 8, but December it'll be year 8 of my business. And I'm just now coming to the knowledge of how powerful it is to have a team and to have a network of people, because you can meet people all day long. You get people's business cards and then they just go into a drawer, you never hear from them again, but to really make those connections, the genuine connections. Of course, you have to sometimes sift through the connections that are not genuine. I've experienced that as well. But really making a decision quickly in the start of your business, or if you've already started to pivot in the direction to where you're going to say, okay, God, I am asking that you help me to send me my, destiny helper, send me those that I can align with for my business, because it's hard doing it alone. And I don't believe that God ever meant for us to do it alone. So
100%. Love it. So I know we're running out of time here, so I want to quickly go over step 5, because if that's okay with you, Amber.
Yes.
Because at some point, this is a lot of stuff to do, right? This is a lot to handle on your own. And as you're doing these things, and as your funnel is filling up and you're building relationships and sharing value and all these different things, right? There comes a point where you need rest as a human. And in order for you to operate at your highest capacity as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, and I think it's so pivotal for us to think of ourselves as CEOs in being responsible for the vision of the company and being able to operate at a 20,000-foot level, to be able to make sure that we're not drifting from our mission, that the main things are the main things. There comes a time where it's time to delegate things out and to bring on a team to help you run the operations of the business. And I was fortunate enough to do this in my previous business, of having a team who basically ran the entire operations of my business without me. And my wife were able to take just seasons of rest and go and just enjoy life. And I think it helped my business in the long run. It helped me personally, helped my relationships, because I was operating at my best. And so I think it's really important to develop healthy life rhythms, whether you have a team or not, to have healthy rhythms of rest, especially when you're in the early going of entrepreneurship. It's so important because we love to grind, and it's important, and it's not to do. And one of the other things I love about alignment so much is that when we first started business, there's so much information, so many gurus telling us different things, that we try to do different things at once. And a lot of times we end up going nowhere because we're pulling in different directions. And alignment creates that forward progress because we know where forward is, right? We talked about that earlier. But scheduling for yourself, routine, it's so much about, these are systems, and it's possible to put something like this, some of these frameworks, into a project management tool like Asana, and just put it on a weekly thing. A weekly thing I post inside my group. A weekly thing I reach out to the people who were ready for the next step. A weekly thing I make sure that I show up to my one-on-one appointments. A weekly, right? And it's like building systems and scheduling things for yourself so you don't find yourself like me. A lot of times I used to just be randomly checking email, going on Facebook. I would be on Facebook for business, and then it would like awkwardly transition to personal time on Facebook. And then, you guys know that seamless transition happens, right? And so it's important to really schedule your time and to operate as a CEO and think in those terms of big picture. In order for you to do that, a lot of times you have to hire a team. If your business is ready for it, you have to hire a team. You have to create processes for them for repeating tasks. Anything you're doing over and over in your business, that's something that you can train someone else to do. And when you're training other people to do it and you're looking for people to do it, first think from a place of culture. And this goes back to mission clarity. Hire people who are passionate about your core beliefs. Hire people who are passionate about your mission, because you can train people in skill sets, but you can't train people to have the right beliefs. And so it's so important. The best employees that I've ever had were people who are excited just about, before they even understood how much they were going to be paid and what exactly their role was going to be, they were more excited about the beliefs and the values that we had as a brand than the job description that they had. And so I love hiring the right people and finding the right role for them rather than the other way around, if that makes sense. Your job as CEO is to empower those people. You've now become a servant leader. It's your job to support those people. I think one of the healthy rhythms, I'm trying to rush through this, but I just want to touch on one thing real quick that I did with my employees that was really impactful. Was we met once a week. I met once a week with each of my employees. And the first question I asked on every single Zoom call, because all of them were remote, was I asked them, how can I serve you? How can I help you? As you chase this mission with me, how can I support to you? Instead of being this boss level manager where you're just trying to force people to do as much work in a small time amount as possible, you want to empower people to be at their best. Just like you've developed healthy rhythms for yourself, you want to help and empower your employees to develop healthy rhythms for themselves, right? There's accountability that has to happen there, but there's also this level of, how can I help you? How can I help you operate at your best? And then lastly, organizational leadership. What does it look like to hold yourself accountable for the next 40 years? And so one of the really cool things, I picked this up from Darren Shearer of Theology in Business. He talked about having a peer advisory group, basically of people who understand you, who know you, and are willing to hold you accountable, and people who understand business, so that they can kind of call BS if they see you doing BS that's like totally out of alignment with your mission. Right? And so having a group of people who meet with you quarterly, who can ask any question about your business and you answer transparently, is going to help you stay on track and stay in alignment for the long term. Because that's the biggest thing that I was missing in my business. Was I had great intentions when I started my business, but as the operations of the business took its demands and I realized, oh shoot, I have to make money, I have to do this, that's when drift can happen. When we're not operating from this high level, we don't have accountability. I think it's really missing in the entrepreneurship space because there is a lack of accountability a lot of times. So it's finding people who can hold you accountable. That's the 5 steps. That is the very big overview, rush through level, but that's it.
That was so amazing, Jeremy. I mean, we've talked before on our one-on-ones, and I received so many nuggets then, and I mean, and even today I've received so much, and I'm excited that I can actually go back and watch the replay, and because I like to be able to get things over and over and over. But listen, you all, let's just say thanks to Jeremy in the comments. Let's just show him some love. Also, please make sure you go and join his group. You don't want to. Make sure you drop the link to your group in the comments, Jeremy. We are all in this together. You'll see more of him here in the CEO group. I'm sure you guys seen some of the things that he's been posting, and so I'm excited just about what God wants to do in each and every one of our lives, in our businesses. And I am most excited that God's concerned with the things that are concerning us. And so I'm grateful that, just for this group. I'm grateful for the people that I've encountered and for the organic growth. We're going to continue to go higher. And so you'll be seeing more of Jeremy, I'm sure. He may not always pop up with me, but he'll be, showing himself a little bit more. He has the freedom to do that here in this group. And we also invite anyone else who is interested in possibly, giving to the group in this capacity. You just got to message me so we can talk. And so I think that's all I have to say, Jeremy. Excellent program today. Thank you so much.
I just want to thank you again, Amber, just for having me. It's a blessing.
Yes, of course, always. I love Kingdom Connections, and that's one of the things I love about the group is we're so diverse. It's so many nationalities, it's so many races, and this is what heaven looks like, and so my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. I just also want to take this time to thank my husband, DJ Roberts. He, even though, how us wives, he'll have a vision and we take it and we bring it to life. But I thank my wonderful husband, DJ Roberts, who is the one who God gave this vision of CEO to start. And so he had the vision and I just put the legs on it. Yes, I just want to definitely salute him. I'm so excited, even what God's going to do through him and I. And so we'll be back talking soon, because me and Jeremy already talked about some things that we need to address in the group, and not in the group, but just in entrepreneurship, and being a Christian, what that looks like. There are some things that we need to talk about. So I'm excited for our next call, Jeremy, and we'll get together soon. I'm sure my husband will be on. I may even do a panel and even bring on one or two other people as well. So you guys, make sure y'all turn your notifications on in the group so you don't miss it. And if that's everything, I don't see, and make sure I didn't miss any questions. Thank you so much, Rosette, for just your consistent feedback and conversation. I also want to say thank you to Candy Shan for coming on in the room. I can't see anyone else right now, but there she goes. Yes, thank you, Candy. We appreciate you guys. And so make sure you share this to someone that an entrepreneur. Share. Get this valuable information out to your friends and family. All right?
All right.
All right.
Good. Thank you, guys. Talk to you later.
Take care. Bye.